Should man have a say? Pro versus anti-abortion teens. So just for understanding, not only we're talking about people, we're talking about teens. And actually those people, they are my age technically. So like this is actually interesting to see what society is. And when I saw this today, I just, because this reaction dropped, I think, yeah, one day. So in the morning it was like 10 hours maybe. Now it's like time has passed. So one day ago, and when I saw that Jubilee dropped this reactions, I just knew that this is gonna be the one that I'm gonna watch. Guys, oof, we are ready for some interesting content here. Before you start, like and subscribe for those of you watching on YouTube. And well, you're gonna find out my opinion on it. And also, if you have an opinion, drop in the comments what you consider, anything what you think. But like, let's go to the video. It's very long, so I hope you will stay long enough for you watching on YouTube and for you also watching on Twitch. And let's pop in for an interesting video.
You are arguing for the slaughter of human beings because you're pro-choice. And I'm standing here in
where strong word.
a fetus
You
cannot.
said killing a fetus, so it's not a strong word.
It's really not. But could I just finish my statement?
Someone insulted someone already. Pro-abortion versus anti-abortion. Well, you will understand who I am for. Actually, this is interesting. They're dropping 4 versus 4, so this is like a really big debate. That's why I think the video is so long.
Forward if you agree with the prompt. I have had unprotected sex.
Oh wait, pro-abortion, anti-abortion. This is super stupid. Come on, literally girls. Like, I think 2 guys who didn't and 6 girls who did. This is insane stat.
So I see we all been getting it on.
This is insane. No, girls, this is not funny. Honestly, this is not funny. I mean, I hope it resulted into nothing serious, but come on. Like, rule number 1, especially like you're teenagers. Like, how can you do it unprotected?
The first time that I had sex, I didn't have the knowledge that I should have. I think, just I didn't know what plan B was until I started having sex. That just like, maybe I missed that day in class.
What? You didn't know that you have, like, you need a guy to put on a condom or what?
But that was not taught in sex ed. So I didn't know what plan B was until I started having sex. But now I'm a lot more educated, a lot more comfortable. Like, I'm on birth control. But obviously...
Wait, what you mean birth control? Like, don't you just ask your guy to put a condom? Like, honestly, you don't need those birth controls if you can, like, just ask, no? Or am I missing something?
Isn't always effective, isn't always accessible. So I understand, like, my privilege in that.
Well, the first time that I had unprotected sex was a couple months ago with my fiance. We're both adults.
Okay, you're teens, right? Because this is pro versus anti-abortion teens, like, and she's already having, I mean, I'm not judging that she has a fiance, like, I'm just curious, like, what age are they? 18, 19, or, like, they all look old enough, so I guess they're, like, almost 18, 19.
And we were in a real period of grief because I had just had a miscarriage, I think about a month before, after we'd had protected sex.
The first time that I had unprotected sex was unprotected.
Why is she, like, talking this in, like, a way like she's just, I don't know, coming into a drunken bar, like, well, the first time I did this. I don't know, this video, like, I laughed at the previous reaction because this was actually a funny one, and now I'm, like, oh, super serious, so don't get me, like, don't misjudge if I say something that, like, unfunny or stuff like this. Like, I'm honestly trying to be, to give as much understanding to these people as I can.
Unprotected sex was with the person that I am currently married to. We got married straight out of high school. I was 18.
Okay.
It was like a week after I graduated.
Okay.
and we're really happy
Okay, fiance and husband, you can understand.
together.
You can
and
understand
we
it.
love the idea of having a child. You know,
Yeah, that's
currently pregnant right now.
okay. Yeah.
Second
Oh,
trimester. That's, you know, so
yeah,
clearly I had
yeah,
unprotected sex to get
yeah,
into.
yeah.
Are
Like,
you going to college, or do you have a job? Like, how's that working?
So I mainly do activism. I try to advocate for people who are in the same position as the person inside of me right now. And I think that the value of their life is intrinsic to every fetus. So honestly, right now, I'm just chilling as an activist.
that's a girl, right? Or is it?
But do you make money?
Sometimes, if my followers give me some.
Sick.
Depends.
Yeah, but like she's, I think, one of the examples of a traditional family, I guess. Like, so I believe the guy provides for her mostly, because otherwise I don't understand how they survive. But yeah, I think I think maybe she will mention it later.
When you were having unprotected sex, would you say that you would have been financially stable enough to have a child?
No.
No. Would you say you would have been emotionally ready enough to have a child?
No.
Okay.
Why did you have unprotected sex
All right
then?
then.
I think I was in kind of a similar situation to you. Not so much because I was pressured by a partner or anything like that, but because the sex ed courses that we had, like yours was lacking, were very lacking in terms of queer sexual education. And the sex I was having, I thought I didn't need any kind of protection for it because
Sure, because life is so easy. You don't need protection at all. Guys, like people watching this, understand one basic thing. There is no such thing in life as free protection. Like you can't just protection from, I mean, from anything, you know, financial protection, sustainable protection, sex protection. Protection is needed for people because we live in a dangerous world. The world is a dangerous place, and it's like real. Nobody's like oh my god, not forbidding it, disputing it. The world is a dangerous place. This is the truth. And in order for you to survive in it, also, you can't just mistreat your protections. Anything that provides you protection, including sex. So people, like literally, I'm being. Oh my god! I think I accidentally deleted the. Yeah, wait 1 second. Yeah, but I just wanted to say, people, you can't just take protection and throw it away. Protection is very important for everything, no matter what, sex, financial, any protection, because the world is a dangerous place. And so you have to, you can't just throw it away like it's nothing. No, use it and think about how you use it. This is my message to you.
I was sleeping with people who couldn't get me pregnant.
The first time I've ever had unprotected
Still
sex,
not an excuse.
I was young enough to not know what sex even was. So I was very much manipulated and groomed by someone in my life to think that what I was doing was okay and normal. And that scared me because, you know, when I finally told my parents, it wasn't a really good conversation.
Of
where
course it
they
wasn't.
Were like, of course they were shocked because that person is in our family.
What
And
the hell? Jesus Christ. These videos today, they just kept slapping me in the face and I'm only on the third minute.
that isn't real, you're just trying to get for attention kind of thing. And then, but in a sense, I knew that they believed me because we went to some dingy ass Walmart and bought a pregnancy test because they were like, if you are pregnant, you can't tell anyone that it's his. You have to say that we adopted another child and you would have to keep that baby. I did not want to have a baby at a very young age.
What the
I was not
hell?
emotionally ready. I was not financially ready. I was still in school trying to think like I have a future for myself that I want to do, you know?
Yeah, but you screwed up. This is like another part, and this is actually interesting. Like, I don't know what age is she, but basically she's a teenager. Like, if she was like over 18, no doubt that you screwed up, you paid the price. But like a child, how should a child actually respond to it? Like,
Fortunately, I was not pregnant.
Do you think that people can't achieve bright futures when they have children?
They can achieve bright futures if they have a
That's
child. I
super
just knew
hard.
that I wouldn't have been able to achieve that
Because you're weak.
future.
Well, there are like resources available, particularly for people who are student parents, for people who are on-campus parents, who have children, babies, toddlers, children of all ages.
This is true, especially now. There's like so many privileges to these people. I believe these privileges were actually even earlier, maybe like 20 even years ago. People like got comfortable with this because they understood. You know, a lot of students, they're like, even now, they're older people. They're like 20, 21, and they're still students, 25. But in reverse, biology, it doesn't quite evolve that same way. So if 100 years ago, or even let's say 50 years ago, you would like go through puberty in your teenagers, now you still go through it in your teenagers, even if your studying has moved like for a longer time. So yeah, I agree with Constance on this.
There are also resources in terms of crisis pregnancy centers, also known as pregnancy help centers. There's thousands of them across the U.S. There's 5 crisis pregnancy centers for every Planned Parenthood. And so I think that a lot of these resources are not made known. I think that a lot of people kind of get into the situation of being pregnant and nobody's telling them about these resources, and then they think that they can't do it. And then they get an abortion that they might not have actually wanted. They felt like they had to.
That's actually a good speech, because a lot of people actually don't know about this. I just know because I talk to like people who have this situation and have used these services, but again, it's like super unpopular among society.
Situation, do you feel like you didn't want to have an abortion, like if it happened?
I think that because I grew up in a very conservative home, so abortion wasn't even in the picture. I wasn't even allowed to have that idea. And like thinking of it now, like, yeah, there are crisis centers, but we're also going through like baby formula shortage. Like there's not even paid parental leave. So if we're going to be able to bring a child into this world, I think we should fight for more healthcare that is free for women or people who can give birth. And especially since I was at a very young age, I honestly just didn't know what I would do in that situation.
Yeah, that's true. That's because you're a stupid teenager. No offense, but you are. You're a kid. Therefore, that's why you're not allowed to like have normally even sex, but even unprotected sex, because the risk, like you're not taking responsibility for your actions at the moment. That's why parents have control, and therefore, like, you know, it wouldn't have been your decision, and it would have been absolutely right. Like honestly, when I watch these shows where, you know, where 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and they go around say, oh, I got pregnant, but I'm doing an abortion because this is my choice, or like I'm like keeping the child because it's my choice, and you go eventually, like, why, like, what choice do you have? Like literally, this is not your child, because a child is a responsibility. And responsibility is something that a teenager, a minor, doesn't have. Therefore, the parents should be the one who decided. Like, so honestly, this is how it is. Like, I'm sorry, but you're a kid. You would have been a kid. And kids don't have responsibilities. Kids listen to their parents.
For me, when I started engaging in intercourse, I started out using protection. I've been volunteering with Planned Parenthood since I was about 15. When I was a junior in high school, I've had an intense passion for reproductive rights. So I immediately, as soon as I knew that resource was accessible to me, I put myself on birth control. But unfortunately, birth control isn't the end-all be-all. And from putting myself on several forms of birth control, I realized
what's the problem of just putting a condom on your boyfriend?
Can be very, very altering. And currently, I'm in a very long-term committed relationship with my boyfriend.
That's good.
And of course, when you have someone attractive, you want to have sex with them. And he's the first person I've really started participating in unprotected sex with.
All right, can we disagree a step forward?
I love this channel, honestly, Ghibli. They give so many different content, and it's so interesting to watch.
I've not had sex yet,
and that's just because of my religious ethical code and moral code.
You know, some of people may like, for anyone who's trying to joke at this kid, believe me, this is like actually a good sign. Like honestly, religious and ethical morals, it's a huge sign.
I'm a Catholic. I've been raised in a Christian household, and I just don't see that as something that's beneficial or valuable to my life at this point. There's been times when I've questioned if I was ready and questioned my faith, but I've always just kind of found my way back to the church
Respect.
and agreeing with the church's teachings. So I've never really had
These
a
don't look
desire,
at him so well.
and I was in foster care as a child, and so I witnessed a lot of sexual violence there, and
Oh, shit.
it's just been one of those things I almost feel like just subconsciously I've never really wanted. So I really don't see myself like living in a sexual relationship with another at this time of my life, just because it
Yeah, I mean, you're all
just
teens.
isn't really what I feel like is right.
Like, go to school, study, get jobs. Like, there's so much work. Like, you haven't achieved anything yet. Like, go on, work hard. You'll have time for sex. Good for you,
Sort of in the
Brayden.
same boat. I'm Catholic as well, but I'm not. I haven't had sex before. It's not just because I'm Catholic. It's like there are other reasons as to why I haven't, such as pair bonding, and I think just it helps to keep the marital act within marriage because newsflash, sex makes babies. So I think it's just good for.
Okay, why are they like these two? They're like, when those two are going to talk, Brayden and this guy, I didn't check out his name. They checked, just like look at these two, because like their faces, they describe everything they think about him. Like especially this girl, Joey. I remember her name because how can you name a girl Joey? Honestly,
A child to have a mother and father because when families are sort of separated, it causes a lot of problems for children,
True.
especially like with divorce. Now it's like
True.
surveys have shown that divorce is often worse than the death of a parent, just because it's just like at least you know like when the parent has passed, it's like they didn't leave you behind. So
I have two questions for you.
Whoa. I haven't never actually heard of this. I should probably, honestly, I'm gonna check it right now on, because like we're gonna listen to you, woman, later. Ba-da-ba-ba. Divorce better than death of a parent survey. Oh, here it is. Are vastly different. Yeah, so I think there's this article you can see here. So yeah, divorce is one of the hardest. Yeah, willful. Oh, I think it's about people, not for the child. Wait, of a okay, maybe like I'll check it before next time. But God, yeah, I haven't heard about it, and this sounds just so wrong. But let's hear what this woman has, what Joey has to ask.
For you. The first one is, where did you get those surveys from?
I just knew that she's gonna actually doubt. Like, I knew it wasn't gonna be a question like, this calm question that, that is gonna continue the topic, but a question that's gonna immediately put him in attack. Like, yo, where'd you get those surveys even? Like, this is the right thing to question everything. I agree with this philosophy, and I believe everything should be questioned. But, like, I'm just laughing because I honestly, in my head, I predicted it. So
I don't remember. I was just in passing, but
That's
I don't
fine.
really know.
The second thing I wanted to ask, you said something about sex always making babies. Well, you didn't say always. You said sex makes babies, and I would love to challenge that a little bit because
It's not the only reason for like sex, because it's like you have the pair bonding and sort of the emotional going on between the two people.
Luke.
But sort of the telos, the primary
The
purpose
risk.
of it, sort of is for that. But there's other legitimate sort of secondary
yeah, plus he's a Catholic. Don't forget, like, maybe not as strict as Braden, but like he's still a Catholic person.
reasons.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you would say that the primary purpose of all sex is babies?
Yeah, this is one of the main, like, basically this is the human nature. It not just it's like an instinct that was the instinct of reproduction. This is how it's called. It's not instinct of having pleasure by, no offense, like having, let's say, orgasms, but it's about reproduction. This is literally the first, I believe, even if we think about, like, I'm not gonna Google it right now, just like to not make this reaction longer, but literally, like, reproduction, this is the first key point of sex. And it's been like this, strictly like this. No one even thought about, like, just for pleasure, I believe, mostly till, I don't know, maybe a couple even centuries ago. Like, honestly, most people that actually go, even if you watch basically the old ancient movies, where all these knights, and they go ahead and they sleep with most of these women. Later on, these women end up getting pregnant and giving birth. Like, honestly, there's so little who, like, don't end up with it. So yeah, I'm with Luke on this. This is the first reason why people have sex.
Because I wouldn't say like all sex, because there's times where you can't conceive because like the woman cycles, that she's not always fertile. But I think it's just the natural order of that.
Yeah, natural. That's what I said.
Having children.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what they were getting at is to not assume that all sex is heterosexual. So
Yeah, that is a
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! I was literally watching this. Now, of course, how could I miss this? Of course, she's gonna be talking about this. Oh my God, just need to text one person. God, this is so. This is so bad. Like, honestly. Of course, I forgot that sex is necessarily heterosexual. You're talking about abortions. Like, literally, who would genuinely, when talking about abortion, think about think about other sex than heterosexual?
pretty heteronormative view. I completely validate and respect that you don't want to have sex for you. But for those of us who can't even ever, for any reason, get pregnant during sex, I think it's a little reductive to assume that that's like the reason people would do it.
This is the human instinct. Honestly, even if you know mentally that you won't be able to do it, like, just this fact, it's still, like, it's an instinct. It's not controlled with your mind.
I think there's also a difference between reproductive sex and non-reproductive
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah.
Like, let's be so for real. There's so many things you can do to not get pregnant and still have sex with somebody.
True.
I'm obviously not Catholic, but I think that, but I think it's also important to
Wait, did she show a necklace or
to
what?
remember that, Catholics
Oh,
and
okay, I
people
see
who
it. I see
do
it.
believe that sex should be within marriage also acknowledge that there's types of
Nice.
sex, like oral sex, for example, that you don't conceive children by. So I think maybe, not to put words in your mouth, but maybe what Luke is referring to specifically is coitus and not other types of sex.
Yeah, because people can mean different things.
Really, I always thought that coitus was just a word that people used to joke on the Big Bang Theory. God, Twitch is making me actually smarter. A lot of people told me it's gonna make me more dumber. Well, I'm trying to prove them wrong.
Sex is like
It's a very general term.
yeah.
Hi, this is Ragini, the director of this episode. Please like this video if you enjoy watching it and subscribe to our channel. Now,
Yeah, I'm gonna
let's get
I
back to
like
the
this
video.
channel, honestly.
I have had an abortion.
Wait, what?
I have had an abortion.
I had mine about a year and a half ago. And I've never felt shame, never felt regret. I've never even second guessed my choice. Surprisingly, my parents are Middle Eastern immigrants, and they were very supportive.
To
The
that
9 months
children.
of pregnancy isn't considered to be a challenge in its own. It's like, oh, you can give the child up for adoption. Oh, there are like resources, there are crisis pregnancy centers. But those 9 months, that's still morning sickness. That's still doctor visits. I had to go to the ER in the very short time that it took me finding out that I was pregnant to getting the actual abortion because I thought I had an ectopic pregnancy, because that's what my gynecologist told me. There are so many things to consider. I can't go to school if I'm sick, if I'm already, mental health isn't something that's secure for me. And then on the top of that, I'm gonna have to deal with thinking about this pregnancy. Are people gonna judge me for being a...
I just have to calm down a bit. Don't have unprotected sex then. I'm sorry, I'm just very close on this abortion topic, and like to just think that she's so easily talking about this, about potential baby, like it just makes me feel hard emotions, and I don't want to lose temperature. So therefore, remember, people, always in your life you should control your temperature. If you need to stop doing what you're doing in order to calm it down, just stop it.
Mom.
Okay, so I had an abortion fairly recently. I had one about 2 to 3 days before my recent birthday last year in November. It was a very unexpected event. I remember having symptoms almost immediately. I was about 6 weeks, I believe, 5 weeks and 7 days. I actually did not suspect I was pregnant because I had been going through some traumatic life events that threw my cycle off. My period was on average 40 days late, so I just didn't suspect anything when I was 6 days late that past cycle. And my boyfriend, who I was confiding in at the time and telling about my current bodily circumstances, had a feeling beyond me, the woman in this equation who should know what's going on. He was the one that prompted me to go get a test because he felt that I was pregnant. And when we found out, it was a shock. I'm the type of person, when in my relationships, I make very clear my positions on how I am with abortion and pregnancy and child rearing. I'm very transparent in that matter because there should be no room for error in that case. But that's because I'm fortunate enough to be educated in that manner. I'm a volunteer with Planned Parenthood, so I knew the resources available to me. And at that time, when I did conceive, it was not when I was on birth control. And so partially, I take responsibility for the circumstances that led to the conception of that pregnancy. Although I'm very grateful and I'm very appreciative that I had access to this form of healthcare, it was something that I grieved heavily. It was something that my boyfriend grieved heavily. We were not ecstatic to have done this. We were not happy that we had to make this choice. But because of our plans as individuals, as adults, and our life plan is to get married, is to complete school, and to maximize our chances of being the parents that we want to be, I felt it irresponsible to be selfish and say, well, I want a baby and I don't.
They're talking about having children in the future. They want to have children together, but the moment they have one, they just decide no.
Want to make that hard choice to terminate. But when you think of somebody else, and that would have been another individual, you have to think what's best for them if they were to be born. And I'm not in a position to where I could emotionally, financially, nor physically provide for a child. Whereas if I would do the hard thing now, later on down the line, when I improve my circumstances, I can be the mother that I want to be, instead of disadvantaging myself and that person who did not ask to be put in that situation.
I commend you for coming in front of a camera and saying that.
Yeah. My parents don't even know either.
Yeah, mine don't either. I need to figure out a way to tell them.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna block Jubilee from their YouTube.
Their parents don't even know about it.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sharing those experiences with us, because I could hear in your voice, even though I couldn't see your face. It's difficult to share. And I'm so sorry that you had that period of grief and those experiences.
Thank you.
I've miscarried twice. And taking the abortion pill, I know though it is a different process. It's
miscarriages.
not dissimilar in the function of it to a miscarriage. But you did say
To
something that I
miscarriages.
thought was interesting. You said you think it's selfish to bring a child into a situation where
Or she's gonna
you
be
know that maybe
pro
you're not
anti-abortion.
economically stable or you're not maybe in the best emotional state to have a child. And my mother has 5 children. And when I was born,
Respect
my
to your mom.
father was leaving. He was abusive.
Oh my god.
And we were on food stamps. She was in college. She was waiting tables and sweeping under chairs when she was in labor with me. So I want to sympathize with that and say I know exactly that kind of economic struggle, that emotional struggle that a lot of women are in. But I don't think it's fair to say that people who are in poverty or people who might have mental health or emotional issues are selfish for bringing children into those
They're
situations.
poor, they're
Because I
mentally
think
weak
that
here.
you can still have and love
Here.
a child in those situations. And I don't think that having children is something that we should reserve for the
Yes.
wealthy, for
Reserving.
the people
You're
who
reserving one of God's greatest gift, like literally the greatest gift that God can give you. And you're saying it, no, we're reserving it. No, not today, God. Send us like, couple years, like 5-6 years.
don't have mental health issues. I don't think it's selfish for people who are not in those positions of privilege to have children.
For the rich, for the white, for those who are in a position.
Right. So I just want to quickly respond to you, and there's a reason why I included that in my personal statement. It's because that's a personal belief that I ascribe to myself. I don't think generally that it is selfish to bring children into your circumstances. I retract myself from in putting my personal beliefs onto other people's experiences. I only speak from how I feel because I'm the king of my own fate. And in the same way that your mother chose to have 5 children, I chose not to. But I don't want to ever take that away from anybody. I think if you feel like you have the
But you're pro-abortion.
means and you have the willpower to be a mother, to be a father, you do that. But that doesn't give you the right to determine for other people that they should also do the same.
Well, I think that's kind of ironic, personally, because I feel like that's exactly the point of the question. It's whenever a person decides to have an abortion, whenever a doctor decides to perform an abortion, whenever a medical professional prescribes an abortion pill, they are making a choice for that child and pushing that onto the unborn person. Then they are saying that the unborn person, you don't deserve to live. You don't have the right to live. You are not rich enough to live. You are not privileged enough to live. You are not white enough to live.
What about the woman though? Like that like I've had this conversation with so many pro-life people, and it's always, oh, the fetus, the embryo, this unborn life. And I'm like, what about me? But I was actually going.
You did the mistake. Like, you screwed up. You screwed up. It's like true. And now you're saying, what about me? You had unprotected sex while being a teenager with a guy, like at least, okay, she at least said that she was planning something with that person. You didn't say anything. And now you're talking, what about me? You screwed up. Life, as we said, is dangerous. It's unfair. And so, whenever you screw up, you have to pay the price. It is how. That's why I don't give a thing that what you're saying. Honestly, when you're saying that, what about me? I'm saying you did this to yourself. That's why I'm like, always. It's a tough question about pro and anti-abortion when it comes to rape, because rape is like a different topic, but voluntarily sleep with a person unprotected and then say, well, what about me? No, that is selfish. That is selfish. Not the, I want to bring a child no matter what economically. No, that is selfish. That no matter what you did, you're not willing to take responsibility for it, and you're putting yourself as a victim. Well, I want to live a good life, and like, I don't want this. I want to have like good sex. Yes. Like risking it. You took the risk. Someone wins it, they get off of it. Someone doesn't, and they pay the price. Well, you don't believe so.
Through it, you can have all these hypotheticals about you're pushing this onto the unborn life. First of all, they never existed. They are not aware of their existence. It's not a
They're not aware of their existence. Honestly, you think when does the child always like you I think understood that I'm pro anti-abortion. You think that 1 minute, 2 minute child understand that it's living, 5 minute child understand that it's like what is happening, 20-minute child. So when is the time? When is the time we stop this?
hypothetical about what they could have become, or you're not giving them the right to life. They never existed.
First of all, they existed scientifically. Scientifically, an unborn fetus matches all of the qualifications that NASA has for a living individual organism. Secondly, I'd like to say
this is literally a living organism. This is literally a living organism that evolves. It evolves like 9 months. It spends 9 months in a woman's body. Then it goes out and it continues to evolving. It doesn't stop, but it starts from there. It starts evolving from there, and it evolves into children. It evolves into teenagers. It evolves into adults. It goes to grandfathers, grandmothers, but it all starts from there. It all starts from there. It's just a process of evolving. And the reason why we pick that, okay, birthday, you know why we celebrate a birthday? Because this is a clear date. You can specifically identify this date. So the person was born. Everyone is now sharing this experience. But in reality, yes, this little thing, it is alive. You can give it life. This is what is called evolution.
what right does anybody have to mitigate the outcomes of their own mistakes by oppressing another human being inside of them, by using unjust violence and excessive force against a peaceful being inside of them?
What about rape or incest?
I got pregnant from rape. 4 years ago, I got pregnant from rape.
Yeah, this is a very... First of all, what the Jesus is like with this Ayala? 2 miscarriages, pregnant from rape. I'm like... And she's a teenager, right? So like, how old was she? I really feel sorry for this woman. I really feel sorry for this woman. Like, no, all jokes aside. And this is like, I'm interested. Like, the only reason, like, the real reason why, like, this pro and anti-abortion thing always sticks in my mind is the rape example. This is like literally the only reason.
I was raped for years of my life. I have physical symptoms of that. I have reproductive issues as a result of that. But I think it's important to say that babies like my daughter Rachel, as I talked about before, and babies like my daughter Mira, who I got pregnant with consensually, are the same. They're DNA-wise. There is nothing different in the DNA. The human DNA.
So I don't think she's a teen. She gave 2 births, 2 miscarriages. She has a fiance. Is she a teen?
DNA between a baby who's conceived in rape and a baby who's conceived consensually.
So you're telling rape women that they should be having their children? Are you?
Yeah, so she's just gonna be like this only topic that can actually defend pro-abortion in education. It's crazy how much more the teen. Oh yeah, they're all teens. What the hell? They're all teens. Like, even if, let's say she's 19, 2 miscarriages, 2 children. Damn.
Gonna make that decision for women that are raped just because your experience,
and she's just gonna pull
think that it ended up being a good idea for you to have these children? Are you then going to stand here and say that
this is like
all raped women should have their children?
Are you going to stand here and say that children who are conceived in rape are somehow different than children who are conceived consensually?
No.
Okay, now it's getting heated.
Because I don't see a difference.
Then why are you bringing it up?
I would also say that...
you can see the difference actually in educating. Like, this Aya girl, like, she's been through so much, and at the same time she seems so, like, educated, like, on this topic specifically. Because she doesn't just like attack her, she questions, and then she goes bam. Then, like, why? This is like nice, nice. But this is like an interesting. You know what? I have never thought about this way. Basically, yeah, like rape is rape, but what's the difference for the child? It's how it's being conceived.
Abortion is not evidence-based care for rape victims. There's no research that shows that the outcomes of rape victims getting an abortion is better than those who do not. So if we want to go purely based off
Wow.
of medical
I didn't
science
know
and
that
evidence-based care,
No.
yeah,
I will push back that we do have statistical evidence that shows that women who have access to abortion and in societies where abortion is accessible, there is an overwhelming decrease in the amount of abortions obtained. And there's also an increase in the economic, emotional, and physical advancements of the people who have access to that
Name
care.
me the
And
one
I will,
country.
acknowledge, because I do think that what was inside of me, what was inside of you, what was inside of you, I personally believe it is a life. It is. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I held mine in my hands,
Yeah.
but to equate that to me, an already birthed human being, this thing, I have a photo of it in my phone. I was gonna bring my ultrasound as well, but I thought that would be triggering for some people. But what I possessed in my hands when I took it out of my pants, when I expelled it from my body.
Oh my
is
God.
I think it is ludicrous to equate that to me. There was no head, there was no arms, there was no legs, there was nothing there.
How far
that,
along?
When a baby gets born, there's no hair on the baby. When a girl gets born, she doesn't have boobs. It's true. When like literally when a little girl gets born, she's born without boobs. So what to say? She's not wrong? Like no, that's evolution. Here it goes more rapidly, you know, from in 9 months it goes from like basically nothing for like some like from little how do you call those, from little biological things, I'm sorry, from like this little nothing to like, you know, a body. Then yeah, this evolution goes slower, but it still goes. And look at you, like look at you, look at me, like when you were 12 years old, compare yourself to when you're 12 and you're now 18, when you went through puberty. And now and now again you will compare yourself in another 6 years, and you'll see that your evolution, it's the way it's speeding is decreasing, but it's still evolutioning. You get this? It's like still evolution is every single day you make a step forward. Just that sometimes these steps get smaller.
how long were you?
I was 5 weeks and 7 days.
You were 5 weeks and 7 days?
Yes. And I had the privilege.
Do you know that at 5 weeks a baby has a heartbeat?
It does
Okay,
not.
First
It
of all,
It does not.
It has a two-chambered heart.
no, heart cells
does
can
not.
beat in a petri dish if you remove it. Heart cells, it's electrical impulses, but I mean, when we talk about life, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think when you draw the conclusion of what is life, I don't think that is a legal question. I think that is a moral and philosophical argument. And when you try and
Let's talk
establish
philosophy,
what
woman.
is life,
That's what I'm
there
here
are
for.
plenty of instances where we acknowledge that there is life, and yet we make decisions for them. When people are brain dead, we acknowledge that there is life there, and yet they are dead. I feel like when you try and say, well, this is life, so therefore it is deserving of rights, we extend more rights to someone who is hooked up to a machine, keeping them breathing without any conscious experience, and we extend to them more humanity than a woman and her body. And my argument is simply bodily autonomy. I think in no circumstance shall we force somebody, should the state, I should say, should the government compel somebody to use their body against their will, even if they are personally responsible for the individual. It's the reason why, even
if you're responsible, so like you're responsible, but you can't make, I'm responsible, yes, I'm responsible to pay the price, but you know what, I am not going to do this, and you can't make me. It just, you know, she just took, like, imagine this paper is responsibility.
if you have a child and that child needs you for bone marrow or blood transfusions, the state cannot compel you and hook you up to a machine against your will to force you to keep that individual alive. And I think and when we live in a democracy and we prioritize human rights, you have to put bodily autonomy above and preserve.
Depends who does what. I prioritize responsibility. I believe everyone should, like, be responsible for their actions and they pay the price for when they screw up.
Regardless, even if you were a drunk driver.
Regardless if you're a drunk driver.
Your irresponsible, illegal actions led to the harm of another person. The state.
Exactly, so you pay the price.
Cannot put you in a position where your body must be used as a resource against your will. I think it is a violation.
Okay, firstly,
what you would like
firstly,
to do.
I asked you about evidence-based care involving rape victims.
Okay.
Not economic outcomes after.
I wasn't arguing off the rape.
Well, yeah, well, as I said, you said
She
yes,
questioned.
we do have statistics, and then you brought statistics that had nothing to do with what I said.
Yeah.
I would also like to say that
Yeah,
the whole bodily autonomy
She didn't say
argument,
it's rape
it doesn't hold
statistics.
up. Pregnancy is ordinary and healthy care 99% of the time. Pregnancy
we
is
have-
not comparable to hooking you up to a random person. Your offspring is your child. They are genetically and emotionally related to you from the moment they are inside of you. My baby is literally grimacing right now inside of me. They can make squint faces.
Yeah.
So it's not even comparable, the relationship between a child and the relationship between a rando. But you
not
do
talking-
not,
I didn't
you
just-
do
I did
not,
not use
you do
specifically
not,
the
you
or-
do
that
not,
I-
you do not, you
What
do
she's
not
talking.
get to mitigate the outcomes of your choices by violently ending the life of another human being that you
Oh, shuck. Well,
are responsible for bringing into
I
dependency.
mean, just for understanding, all these people went through hard times. She went through an abortion. That girl went through an abortion. That girl went from 2 miscarriages, rapes. This girl, I believe, also went from like as she told the story, from being afraid from for getting pregnant. They all had hard times. I'm not trying to make fun of them. Like, what I'm trying to say is that unfortunately today, a lot of people, they just try to avoid the responsibility for their actions, and just run away from it because they believe that life owes them everything. And this is the sad thing that I don't like, because I mean, why should one part of the people pay the price for what they do, for what they have to do, even just because nature gave them one thing or another, and then the other ones just go against it. Like they say, you know what, we have responsibilities, but we're not going to comply to them. And this is what I don't like. So I'm not trying to mock you when I'm like, pointing out your faces. Like, I don't know, whoever may watch and think anything about. Whenever I point out their faces, I'm not trying to make fun of them. I'm not trying to, kind of insult them. Shame them. Humiliate them. I was looking for this word. What I'm trying to do is actually just make them think about the world, not like, because not only about the events that are around them, but about the events around the world, and like try to think in another perspective.
Even if I invited someone into my own home, a friend, a family member, I have the means, if I choose, if I tell them I do not want you there, by my own choices, I allow that person into my home, into my space, into my domain, and then I change my mind and I rescind my consent. We have the ability. It's called self-defense. And I'm nowhere near arguing that
That is not that you can't kill them. Like, basically, you can't, you invite them to your house, but you can't, okay, you know what, I changed my mind. And because this has changed your mind. This is not a robbery. This is not a robbery. And even though, robbery, it's not right to kill that person. This is not, you voluntarily let them in. You had unprotected sex, so which means that you voluntarily took the risk. Like, this is a volunteer action. Like, you said, okay, I'm risking my the fact of getting pregnant for a chance to get like pleasure, or whatever reason you had to do to like have unprotected sex. Like, that's not the important thing. The important thing is you morally agreed that okay, it's fine, and now you're gonna sit here and tell me that this is like self-defense, that you can just like take your actions back. No, world doesn't work like this, and especially until we invent a time machine that can take us to the past and change something, it still won't like have it, because it still won't destroy the concept that people can't change what happened, because then they will just be changing like they will be changing actions in the past and like not doing new actions. So like they will have the responsibilities, they will still have responsibilities for their past actions. I just don't understand how, like, why don't these people think like this?
Let me clarify now before you jump to conclusions about what I'm saying. We have no issue with, and again, I'm not saying that pregnancy is the same as self-defense, but in those arguments, even
Then why did you compare it? Like, I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm gonna give it as an example of comparison. Why? Like, this is stupid. This is stupid.
when you put yourself and you put another person to a state of dependency, when you invite them into your home, you have the means to remove them. And I think when it comes to your body, and I'm just arguing in terms of the state, there's a lot of things that I disagree with in terms of like people smoking cigarettes, because we have evidence that shows secondhand smoke kills. You can kill somebody from the means of you having an addiction to cigarettes. But should
True, but you can fight against it. I agree. And you can take the risk. I agree. But that's why we're having all these limits. For example, now, yeah, we're limiting places where you can smoke, for example. I still think it's a bad comparison, because the example of cigarette is not like killing, and I haven't actually seen research where it shows that it actually kills. So when you stand next to a person who's even smoking, I sure saw researchers that say that smoking can kill, again, can kill. So again, you're taking the risk, but you're risking like to die for your own pleasure. And nobody's gonna say, well, okay, now I have cancer, but you know what, I disagree with it. No. I mean, you're gonna fight it, but most people, like, they should understand it when they start smoking. The same thing with unprotected sex.
we punish that person for the choice that they made simply because they...
But can I ask something? What about the child inside of you?
There was... What I passed in my hands was not a child, and I think it is very disingenuous to say what I held in my hand is the you, is any of you.
It's any of us, because it's evolution, darling.
What was it then?
An embryo. It's like a clump of
What's an
cells.
embryo? What is an embryo?
It's a clump of cells.
Well, an embryo is just a term
It's an
for
organized
the
body.
stage of
It's
a
not
certain
the
stage of
stage.
development.
Yeah, it's a stage of a human being. You have embryo, a baby, adult, baby, teenager, adult.
The entire
This is how it
Right,
works.
I agree.
So it is
So it's,
still a human
it's a
being.
human life. So you just
But
agree.
is the egg unfertilized? Is that a human being?
No, because fertilization.
No,
Hold on,
because
hold on.
fertile is
One at
not
a time, one at a
combined.
time. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
So an egg is distinct from an embryo because an embryo is a genetically distinct whole organism. It's not merely just a part like skin cells, egg, sperm. Because we can tell that because if you were to apply the net test, so like any amount of nutrition, any environment, or any amount of time, like an embryo will develop into a mature member of its species, but sperm, eggs, skin cells, tumors, they're not going to develop into a
Right.
whole organism. So
That's
it's
the
not the
argument.
same thing.
Oh yeah, of course. I do. I absolutely agree. I think an embryo is a stage of development, but I don't think you afford...
So she clearly said that she agrees with them, that it is a stage of baby evolutioning, developing. Even developing is a better word. And yet she still says that's not.
that.
That's what I don't like often about people also, that they contradict their own words. They're saying one thing and then they say another thing and they think they're doing right.
Stage of development, the same human rights that you would a full-grown human being.
And why is that?
It's the reason why we make a distinction between children and adults. A child can develop into an adult. Do we automatically ascribe them? You can drink, you can vote. Well, they're not.
That's not the same. You still, you can't kill a child. You can't kill an adult. How about that? How about that argument? Yes, I understand what she's trying to say, that they have different rights. But in the question of life, their rights are equally protected. Whether you're a child, or an adult.
They are not that yet. And why make that distinction, but then say
How does that give us the authority to kill the child?
I'm not saying give you the authority to kill a child, but I think if that, the argument that I'm making is I feel like there is a fundamental difference between something being attached to you, reliant on your resources, and something being dependent on you for other types of resources beyond your physical body. It's the reason why I'm making a reference to blood transfusions and organ donations, because that is directly attributing what your body needs to survive to give to somebody else to help them live, as opposed to a child that is already born that simply needs your labor and financial resources to keep them alive and support their already existence and living on their own.
But when we're talking about the value of human life, I don't think it's at all fair to say that an unborn child is worth more than their mother or who would be their mother. I don't think it's fair to say that the mother's needs and her state of life or their state of life don't matter in that situation.
Her or their. What kind of world sometimes that we live in?
Because they do, and it's not this like killing a fetus for fun. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be in that situation or to have an abortion.
But they ended up, so they're gonna do it. Nobody wants to. They don't want to. Oh yeah, they so don't want to that they do it. This is like contradiction of your own words. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it. That's why they're putting themselves in this risk. That's why they are doing it. Like that's why they're defending this action, the action that nobody wants to do. She just admitted nobody wants to do this action, but we're gonna defend it.
But like, you can't just act like we always should be prioritizing this, what isn't even a child yet.
But none of us are saying we're prioritizing the child over the mother. We're saying,
yes, you are. Yes, you are.
No. And she's like screaming already. Let him finish.
What happens during pregnancy?
What happens during pregnancy? Yeah. The mother is trying to think of the word.
Gestating.
The mother is giving.
She has so many advantages in this debate because she's pregnant. Like honestly, if she wasn't, like it would have been like a different conversation. But the fact that she is gives her so much advantage.
Life to the fetus. The mother is supporting the fetus's life as it grows. And so what we're saying is that the child and the mother should be equally supported through the pregnancy.
Yes.
We're not saying that they are. We're saying they are.
So supporting the financial needs of a mother is a need that can be handled through nonviolent means, whereas you guys are advocating for violent means to end the life of a person.
It's violent. It's violent. You end the life. You end the life. A life is developing in your stomach, and you agreed. Okay, like at least a colleague from your part agreed that this is a developing life, and you just stop it.
It's not violent.
It is violent.
That's violent.
Violent to rip, suction, starve. It is violent to take limbs off of people. It is violent to induce a heart attack. Yeah, and you starved. You starved your embryo. That's what happened. That's how the pill works.
You probably do that in labs somewhere. That's how you
do that
but
in germ cells.
But it's a human being. I feel like we keep getting away from the fact
it's not
that
though.
But
There's nothing to get away from.
That life begins at conception. It's a human embryo.
Science does not say that. The Bible says that.
Yeah, jeez, you're so good. 25 minutes. Calm down.
Really quick. I have a...
Let's move on to the next prompt.
Yeah, calm down. Yeah.
I did have a question.
Don't get a bunch of pro-choicers and pro-lifers together.
I'd rather.
Yeah, because like you're starting to shout whenever it starts. Stop it. Then put them through
abort a child, then put them through the foster care system.
I'm gonna quote Google. Just one person?
And this is like, I didn't consider this until I myself was put into that situation where it's not just get pregnant, put the kid in the foster system. It's that, again, like I said, 9 months of pregnancy. And
so again, selfish.
I would not go through those 9 months of pregnancy.
Because you're selfish. Like honestly, so like you're just saying, well, I'm not gonna suffer for, and I'm not gonna pay for the actions I did. That's selfish. I'm sorry. That again, not trying to mock, but that's selfish. Oh wait, I unplugged the wrong charger.
even though if I have the option of giving my kid up to the foster care system, like, you have to still go through those 9 months of pregnancy. It's not just
That's selfish.
you can just drop it off.
That's selfish. But it's interesting. Even the
I feel like first, before we get into this conversation, we need to establish how foster care works. As someone who is in the system, I understand how the system works. As someone whose parents were foster parents, I understand the system is not something you can willingly just register your child for, not like the adoption system. Foster care is a system of the government to protect children who are in unsafe environments, that they see the child as being in an unsafe environment. My mother was a drug addict. We were living in government housing. We were homeless multiple times. My mother was severely addicted to alcohol.
Oh my God, what are
just
these
not
stories?
at a time in her place where she could really have a family, but she did have a family. And so my grandmother came and watched us. And my grandmother, over time, just really was convicted, because she was a devout Christian woman, of the reality that this is no environment for a child to grow up in, and she wanted to do something, if anything, to help us have a better life. And she knew financially she could not take us in, but she wanted to do something. So she called CPS, and CPS came and took me and my siblings away. Now, did I have the best experience of foster care? Absolutely not. I still live today with bruises and sores on my body from foster care. And I was in there up until I was 19 months old. I was a baby, but it still affects me to this day. And I really struggle when I hear people say that, like, a child in foster care is somehow less valuable because of the way that the government treats children in foster care, because I just don't think that's a correct opinion to have. To treat a child as less valuable is dehumanizing. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm 1000% against dehumanization of any human being whatsoever.
I don't think anyone is saying that foster care kids are less valuable, though. Like, you didn't mean that, did you? No, nobody's saying that. I just wanted to make that clear. Do you have a uterus?
I do not have a uterus.
You do not have a uterus. So I'm not saying that your opinion is invalid or that you should not.
It's her bringing it up. Like, just point out, it's her bringing it up. This girl.
Be included in this discussion, but I'm saying that that's important to keep in mind, is that you could never be in this position.
No uterus, no opinion. Okay.
Of having to decide whether you in your body want to keep and raise a child from your
Why
body.
is it only about the body?
The slaughter of human beings, because you're pro-choice. And I'm standing here in where a fetus cannot.
Killing a fetus, so it's not a strong word.
It's really not. And
what did she say?
Because you're pro-choice, and I'm standing here in.
Wait, what did she say?
Want to keep and
well,
raise
let me
a child
put on
from
captions because I didn't get.
Arguing for the slaughter of human beings because you're pro-choice.
Slaughter.
And I'm standing here in where a fetus cannot.
Killing a fetus, so it's not a strong word.
It's really not. But could I just finish my statement? We're standing here in defense of the children because they do not get that voice, because they do not have that voice because they are in the womb.
So then are you going to adopt it? I'm assuming you will, right?
That's not an argument.
What is this debate? Like, these two are completely destroying. Even if you want to support the pro-abortion movement, like, definitely don't listen to these two. Like, what about those two others who were like, that one was the green t-shirt, she's literally silent for, not this one, the other one, she's silent for the whole time. The other one that had like an abortion was her friend, like was her boyfriend, she's like also not, she took like some comments, but mostly these two are trying to steal the show for pro-abortion.
That's not.
Although they are not the ones who actually give the best arguments. The best arguments were actually indeed, although she was contradicting herself. So,
argument you can make, because I am currently not in the financial place to adopt. Mm-hmm. But it is a choice that I could make to become a foster parent. The issue is that becoming a foster parent is something that you register with the state. It's not as easy as just saying like, well, you can just one day become a foster parent. It is a long, tedious process. It's expensive. There's tons of things that go into it.
Yeah. I would also say
thousands of dollars.
You guys had something to say
We're
as
talking
well.
about who should have a voice in this discussion, but it's like the unborn don't have a voice. They're not yet able to like have a voice, but they are still human beings with dignity, and we ought to respect that.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, I think we really need to sort of figure out, it's like, what are we talking about here? Because if abortion doesn't kill human beings, then no justification is necessary. However, if it does kill human beings, no justification is adequate.
I always say that if murder was happening at the rate that abortions happen at, it would be Armageddon. Like, it is just absolute. Women, I think it's like a quarter of women will have an abortion in their lifetime. If that was happening, if an
What the hell? Quarter of women? Just give me a percentage. I just need a percentage. God, they can't even give me a percentage. Okay, maybe some other time.
an eighth of the population was being murdered,
Sorry.
then it would be the purge.
Why do you think we're so distraught, though?
It doesn't affect you though. Like,
But it doesn't affect us.
It doesn't. If I
Injustice
hadn't told
anywhere
you,
is
you
a
wouldn't
threat.
know.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to
Justice
justice
everywhere.
everywhere.
But why is
Every single
Yes.
person, even if they are not under my jurisdiction, the oppression of that person is my business.
Yes.
And that's what it is.
I respect that
Because I wanna,
approach.
this is, to us, it sort of sounds like, if we're saying it's like,
I love Luke, honestly. He's like the most calm. He's just sitting there, philosophizing and like talking. He's not trying to prove, he's not trying to scream. He's trying to have a discussion. That's like a good. I like it. Keep it up.
if you don't want an abortion, sort of just don't
And
have
point out how nobody actually interrupts him. So when he's speaking, everyone just shuts up and doesn't interrupt him. Because he got the respect.
one. But we hear it sort of in the same way. It's like, if you like don't like slavery, don't have a slave. We sort of hear it sort of in the same ways because it's involving.
Yeah, you should also talk. Believe me, like you haven't said a single word probably since your story at the beginning.
Like, it's sort of the destruction of the dignity of a human person. Like, abortion and slavery violate the dignity of a human person.
So you're comparing abortion.
I actually agree with that. I actually agree with that. And I think that
just
ties in
let-
nicely
time-
to this whole systems and foster care argument because people argued vehemently at the time in which we were about to end slavery that we should not end slavery because we don't have the systems. We don't have the systems ready for all of the slaves that will now be free. There's no jobs out there for them. They don't have any land. Oh, we need to keep them as slaves until we have the right system. No, you don't.
This is like this pure, like, this is why I can't, I told you to not, like, listen, all this. She's just literally showing disrespect to this person and playing a fool. Like, honestly, this is what a person who doesn't have what to say does. She's like, oh my God, I can't hear you. I'm shocked. I can't hear you.
You don't get to degrade the dignity of another human being until you're ready for them to be here.
And black
until
people are
you're
still
ready
suffering
for them,
today.
Until you're ready.
Black people still suffering from slavery. So what, they should have been kept as slaves? What's her suggestion? What was this comment about? What was this comment about? I said not to lose temperature and I still didn't lose temperature, guys. This is like me speaking calmly. What does she mean with this comment?
Degrade the dignity of another human being until you're ready for them to be here.
And black
until
people are
you're
still
ready
suffering
for them,
today.
Until you're
From what? What is this comment has to do here?
ready. Until you are ready for them to live dignified lives. That's unjust.
I want to touch on the prompt about the foster care system.
Yeah, like this, you see, she's like patient, she's like calm, she's listening. Like these two, and I mean, especially this girl, Daphne.
And I just wanted to emphasize that for me, I didn't take into consideration the foster care. I don't feel like anybody is less than. I don't think that you're less than. I think me and you are entitled to the same rights. Of course, just personally, when I made my decision, it wasn't a matter of I don't want my child to go to the foster care or be adopted out. That wasn't the question. What I took into consideration, what my boyfriend and I decided together was we did not want to put me through the physical constraints of pregnancy without him, because my boyfriend, he is a very traditional Christian, and I'm no longer religious. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I'm not religious anymore, but I respect his views, and he carries a lot of views that you have, but because of his consideration to me and his approach to the family structure, he knew that he was not in a position to take care of me in that vulnerable time. In the weeks that I was pregnant, it was extremely hard for me. It was mentally and physically draining. The changes that were going on, it was to the point where I could not participate in the daily activities that one does: go to work, feed themselves, get out of bed. It was very psychologically difficult in that short period of time. And we knew at that point that it was going to be a very demanding and laborious pregnancy had I gone through with it. But because of how he feels and his responsibility and his duties that he places on himself as a man, he wanted to make sure that experience of pregnancy, and when we do decide to have a child, I'm in a point where I can be cared for appropriately. Just the way I waited out, and again, it wasn't because this aversion to the foster care. In fact, I feel like we should better resources for those children because they have every right to be here. I'm more so focused on whether or not, again, should the government enforce and place themselves in such a personal matter when it's a matter of people using their bodies.
I would think most of us in some regard agree with you.
Yeah, like I do.
Speak for
Like,
everyone
this
here. I
is
don't
hard,
know everyone's
but
like various political beliefs.
Yeah.
Most of us would agree with
my
you. And that's
thing
why
was
we're
another.
pro-life, is because we see it as that's what the government is doing to children in the womb. The reality that the government could have just, because of the way that the government works and because of the way that
I like
the abortion
that they
system
point out
works,
these two.
the reality that I just could be non-existent and not exist at all is horrifying.
Yeah.
And the reality that my memory, my life, my genetic makeup, the people that fought for years to give me rights, that can all just be erased, is horrifying.
But it would have never happened. It's not like it happened and then like it was erased. Like
I was conceived, my mother had the option to abort.
Yeah.
Therefore, it could have happened.
Boom. Straight facts. Wait, I have to respond to my mom.
Parents should be informed if their teen is seeking an abortion.
Absolutely, yes. Come on. Come on. What the... Those are your parents. They're the ones taking responsibility for you when you're a minor. Go!
So when I was being sexually abused, my parents didn't know. When my
Who didn't
rapist
go?
found out that I had a pregnancy scare, he was like, I will f***ing kill you if this is the situation. I'll kill you. And I think that if I had gone into an abortion facility, as many girls and women have, and been forced by my rapist to have an abortion, I think that this is another, I guess, part of a system where mandatory reporting fails, as it has many times in abortion facilities, particularly in Planned Parenthood. Parents need to be informed if their child's being sexually abused, and because mandatory reporting often fails in this way, because Planned Parenthood is a business and they make money off of what they do, I think that it's really important for the parents at least to have this knowledge and to have this understanding.
Yeah, I think it's a really kind of tricky situation and topic to discuss just because there are so many, like there's such a breadth of situations that can occur.
No,
and
there's
have
no
occurred.
breadth of situations.
And
There's
I'm
one
so sorry for what you
situation.
went through, by the way, but like that situation is really awful, and it definitely highlights how having parental oversight is good and important in certain situations, but also like there are situations where young people are in situations with abusive households, abusive parents, who, if they found out...
So what? They're their parents. No offense. Like, if they are that abusive, like, the government takes away from those parents. Believe it or not. Like, those are still your parents.
That teenager, that child was attempting to do something to care for themselves and to help themselves live the life that they need to, or for their health, or whatever reason they might have for doing it, they'll be prevented from seeking care of any kind, not even just like an abortion. They'll be prevented from seeking any kind of sexual wellness care, health care, of any sort, because their parent is aware that they were looking for that kind of support.
And I'd like to go off of what you're saying. I agree full-heartedly that there are different situations where
Of course.
it could be dangerous for the individual to tell their parents, and that's why I think pregnancy resource centers, which is what we support, are such a valuable tool, because they have the right to put protections over this young individual or older individual. And if they are in an unsafe situation, they house them, they feed them, they get them a job away from the area where they are. You know, they do stuff to help, but also those situations and the situation where the child was conceived in, that child still has value. So that's why I'm a firm believer in protecting both the mother and the child.
I mean, I would also like to say that, like, as much as young people don't like to hear it, and as much as I didn't like to hear it myself, because I had, you know, a messed up household, because I had a parent who was not a safe parent. I think that parents have rights.
Yeah.
Uniquely, like the
parent
Ohio Initiative for Choice right now is trying to attack parents' rights, trying to make it so that people can get medical procedures or supposed medical procedures in abortions and not have to notify their parents. And there have been teenagers and young women who have died from abortion procedures.
Exactly.
We
Because they're children. Like, I'm not sure that it should be called teens. I would rather say minors, you know, because although I don't know what's the law in the US, but yes, absolutely, this is right. Parents have their parental rights. I just can't imagine how this question can even be discussed. I'm sorry.
That go and counsel outside of Planned Parenthoods and abortion facilities, and we've seen, like, we've documented, reported to the state, suspicious behavior of people bringing busloads of minors in to have abortions. And, you know, it's one of those things that we just have to look at the reality and we have to address it.
There's actually statistics that say that the majority of women who have undergone sex trafficking report having more than one forced abortion, specifically saying forced abortion.
And we are against that too, right? We are against people being forced into abortions as much as anything else.
I think parents have an obligation to care for the child that they have in their care. And I think it is a parent's responsibility to support that child, of course. But then again, I feel like I'm speaking from a privilege of where I obtained mine when I was already a legal adult, so I didn't have to tell my parents.
Exactly.
I just know for me personally, because I went to Planned Parenthood to obtain my abortion.
That's what I said.
Even when I obtained my birth control or my routine screenings from them, some of the questions that they always asked me was, are you safe? Are you in a safe situation? Are you doing this because you consented to it? When I obtained my abortion, they asked me, is someone forcing you? And they have signs all over in the clinic telling patients that they are obligated to report if you are being sex trafficked or abused in some way.
Bring the drama queen back.
The reason I disagreed was because I believe the prompt said teens should have to come to their parents. I am acquainted with someone who just had an abortion who is the same age as us, and she did not tell her parents. She has yet to tell her parents.
Well, I think we're talking about telling parents.
What is this company you're hanging out? You had an abortion, your friend had an abortion. Are condoms that expensive in the United States nowadays? Come on!
Parents before the procedure, particularly, because that has ramifications. I mean, I'm sure afterwards there's some ramifications, but I think parents, like I said, would have the right to know before you get the procedure.
Exactly.
I have a question. Because I think a lot of us are coming from the approach of, like, minors, but I'm saying, and specifically with my case, because I was already legally
true, you're not.
I had mine. Do you feel like even in cases, although we are teens here, I'm still legally an adult, should my medical information, now that I'm legally able to take care on my own, because that's where I'm going to operate from, should, even against my wishes, should they be informed? Because I think for me,
not necessarily. You're an adult, you do whatever you do. Like, this is, as I said from the very, this is also why I didn't like the idea with saying teens rather than minors, because minors are still the responsibility of parents. When you're an adult, no question, you're on your own, if you wish, of course.
Big, I want to go to them when I'm ready. Because I'm coming here now sharing my story, but I was not prepared to come out with mine, because it's still something that I grieve with to this day, still something that my boyfriend and I, we still tackle with every day. But I just don't agree with the idea that even though I'm a teenager, I'm still an adult and I should still have my my choice to not expose my private medical information to my parent. Now that I'm willing and able to make that choice, that should be violated.
I think that we would all agree that, like, for an adult, no, if you're a legal adult, you shouldn't have to tell your parents. However,
Necessarily.
I think we're specifically talking about minors.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's possible to find a middle ground on the issue of abortion?
Very hard. But you know, as they say, and okay, let them finish. It's 30 seconds.
Not possible.
I think it's possible.
I think there's some ways to find some middle grounds.
Yeah, I think we already have here today on like certain parts of it.
Oh, she finally said something at the end of the video.
Thank you guys for your time and your vulnerability. I appreciate hearing new experiences.
Thanks for sharing your stories, no matter what.
She's like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, true. Tough video to watch, but very actually even enjoyable. I mean, you can't even say that those people were annoying. Like, honestly, I genuinely liked what I've seen. These people have had their hard times, and it's good to see that even despite this, they still find, they still found positive things even when just chatting with each other. So the moral of the story is the response. The moral of this video will be the response to the question of what the interviewer said, the producer. Will there ever be a middle ground? I believe that we can eventually get to one, but the thing is, there will never be one where everyone is satisfied. Unfortunately, this is the sad truth. But we can find the one that will have the least unsatisfied, and this is the key we have to work towards, guys. For those of you watching on YouTube, I thank you for watching this reaction. Drop a like, drop a dislike if you didn't like it. Comment below what do you think about abortions. Comment below what you think about my reactions or my thoughts or your thoughts. And I will drop another reaction in a couple days, because right now you Twitch streamers stay up. We're going to watch the third video for today, and yeah, I had the 20-minute nap today, which will really help me with my energy, so I'm fit for another reaction. But you YouTube viewers are gonna see it in a couple days. I usually upload one reaction per 2 days, so maximum in 2, I think maximum in 3 days, but normally in 2 days you're gonna see the reaction. Or even depending on other video plans, or maybe even tomorrow, I don't know, it depends, but like maximum 3 days. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next reactions. Enjoy your day.